Hi guys, we love you here. Yes, we do. Anyway, guys, hope your day is going good. And thank you for subscribing. And please like, share, and comment. And we will discuss this mass murder. I forgot about this one. This happened a long time ago in 1987, near where I come from in England, near Newbury, Berkshire. As I've got older, I've forgotten about these cases that has happened way back when. I know I come from the country and we come from a small town and not much happened in them days. But it seems like I know a few people that have been murdered. Now I'm going back and my memory serves me right. Well, anyway, this video is about a massacre. Mass massacre. Murder. The gunman, Michael Ryan, went on a shooting spree in a little village called Hungerford, England. And that is just a few miles from Newbury, Berkshire. On August the 19th, 1987, a sunny afternoon that changed a town forever. Changed a village forever. And these villagers have never been the same since. They all knew each other. Most of the kids all went to the same school. It's like when you were in kindergarten up until you finished school, they probably all went to the same local schools. Now this Michael Ryan, his mother was a very nice lady, so they say, a good mother. She worked in one of the schools in the village, and she was like, I don't know, a dinner lady. She would watch them while they're out playing, stuff like that. She worked at the school for many years, and all the parents and everybody knew each other. They all knew Michael as a kid. He was a very good kid, wouldn't hurt a fly, very polite, well-mannered, didn't get into no trouble. The mother was well respected. She seemed like a nice lady. Nobody really has anything to say bad about them while he's growing up as a child. He lived with his mother all his life. So, as the story goes, on the 19th of August 1987, a gunman called Michael Ryan went on a rampage in a small village in Hungerford, England. My dad knew this man and had worked with him a few times. And my dad's friends knew him too, as they were in the building trade. My dad was a builder. My dad could operate any machinery, drive any truck, build a house. You name it, my dad did it. Carpeting, roofing, painting, bricklayer. So my dad was a jack of all trades. And one day, this Ryan was in the same vehicle as my dad and a few other friends. And as my dad was talking to him, probably took the piss out of him, making fun of him or doing something like that, because that's the kind of personality my dad's got. He's ignorant. And Anyway, he talks to us like that. He talks to his own kids that way, but we're used to it, you know. He talks to us like we're idiots, you know. Talks to us like we're still kids or something, and that's the way he is. So I could guess he could piss people off real easy. Well, anyway, he told my dad, and my dad's called Michael too. So this Michael Ryan told my dad if he didn't shut up, he's going to shoot him in the head. Whether that was, he was really going to do it, or he was just stating that. But you know what? He may have been going off the rails, this guy, just by making that statement. I mean, who says they're going to shoot somebody? And you know what? This guy carried guns around with him, so he could have had a gun in his pocket. I don't know. But nothing happened that day. I guess may have scared my dad. I don't know. What a shame. But anyway, say no more about that one. Well, as the story goes, I think the first victim was, if my memory serves me right, was a young mother and her two little girls, well, her two kids, and they were very small children. She'd taken them to the park or in the, well, it's a wooded area, and it was a sunny day. She took her kids out there to play and have a picnic and that kind of thing. She was Michael Ryan's first victim, his first victim. Now, Michael Ryan might have been in the woods, you know, pacing around, going cuckoo, you know. It could have well been doing that. And then he thought, yeah, but this lady wasn't doing nothing to him, but he went up to her and shot her. I don't know how many times he shot her, but he shot her dead. But he didn't kill the children. He did not kill the little kids. Well, anyway, a little while later, I guess somebody found the children and, you know, picked them up and took them to the police or something, or asked them where your mother is. Where is your mother? And they probably said in there, in the woods. But I think they might have been a bit too young to, you know, to take them directly to the mother. But anyway, they found the mother. And I guess while that was all going on, you know, people didn't have mobile phones back then. They had to get to the nearest phone and, you know, try to call the police and all that business. But she was his first victim. And then he heads back to the village to where his mother lives. And I guess his mother was the next victim, because even though they seemed to have a good relationship, he seemed to love his mother, the mother loved him, they seemed to have a good relationship. It doesn't seem like they were fighting all the time. He's threatening her, the police are coming to the house all the time, kind of nothing like that. But he had killed his mother and set the house on fire. And that means when he set her house on fire, that means the neighbor's house was catching on fire also. Well, while this was going on, I think people were trying to call the police because they heard gunfire going off. But this wasn't no normal gunfire. They thought they were at war. It was a different sound to somebody just target practicing and stuff like that. Well, and the house is smoking. So people walking around started getting into people's doorways and hiding behind the bushes and hiding in people's doorways. People locked their doors, and some people let people in and said there's somebody shooting and keeps shooting. But they don't know who it is at this time because they're too scared to look. Because if they did look, they would have known it was Michael Ryan, because everybody knew him. And they wouldn't have believed their eyes even if they saw it. That's just my theory on that. Just the way people spoke of him. Well, anyway, he was going on this rampage. And this is not the day for this to happen, but it did. Back in them days, you would only have one Bobby on duty. You know, one police officer. We call them Bobbies in them days. And he had taken off that day. It was his day off. And he was off to his other job. He had a part-time job, which he did gardening. And so he was off to that job. And so there was no police on duty in that village that day. There was nobody. So if anybody was calling into that police station that day, there would have been nobody there. For some reason. I guess they only had one person on duty. I mean, you would think that if a policeman was off, they'd have another one replace him. But I guess it didn't work like that in them days. You know, there was one police officer, and then he had a day off, and it's tough luck if anything happens that day. You know, you have to go to the nearest village, the next village over. And that could be miles and miles away. And people didn't have phones in them days. Not a lot of people had phones. They sure didn't have mobile phones. Well, anyway, as people were coming in and out the village, driving around and walking around, this Michael Ryans was shooting. And he was just shooting at anybody. He was like he was at war. He had fatigues on. He had his semi-automatic. You know, you would think he was at a war zone. And he was just randomly shooting. He didn't care who it was. He was shooting into cars. So as the cars were coming and people were running and walking around, they're going, oh, what's going on? What's going on? They say some madman is shooting. Some madman is gone crazy and he's shooting. You know, and some people just drove off. Like, you're crazy, man. You know, something like that. And they got shot too. He just shot into the cars. Well, anyway, on this day, Trevor was the local Bobby. He was on his way to his job, and he heard over the radio, on the car radio, that there has been a shooting at a petrol station. And somebody has been killed and shot. The petrol station is a gas station. And there was somebody, you know, on their way to this petrol station. But luckily the lady was shot, but she was not killed. She was not killed. But she wasn't sure who it was, because this petrol station wasn't in the village. It was a little way out. So she didn't know who this Michael Ryan was. But anyway, so while this was going on, he thought that, he goes, well, I'm going for my part-time job. Okay, I'm off duty. So he carried on doing what he was doing, you know. And then some other messages started getting on the radio that there has been some shootings in Hungerford, in the village. And he's like, what? And he goes, and he thought to himself, oh, my parents are coming from out of town. They're visiting me today, and they're on the way to my home. Of course, you know, they would let theirself in. So he started worrying about that. And then he heard, you know, oh my God, more calls are coming in. There's shooting, there's a madman. So he goes, okay, so he stops kind of what he was doing and thought, well, there's nobody on duty in the village. I'm going to have to go back. So he has to go back. And while he was going back, he sees smoke coming from the house. And he goes, oh my God, is my house on fire? You know, because it was close to his home. And he's wondering where his parents are, because they should have been arriving by now. So he goes and puts himself back on duty. I guess there was a something he had to do, like clock in or something, change into his uniform, and now he's officially on duty. So then he starts investigating it a little bit more. And the ambulance, by this time, ambulances were coming. They were getting shot at. They had to stand way back. In the meanwhile, they're trying to get, like, the police, more police from out of town that have guns. That these people are licensed to carry guns. Because, you know, our local police, our local bobbies, were not allowed to have guns. So nobody's got any guns. So they're trying to get the, I don't know, like the military in, but nobody has an idea where the gunman is. But in the meanwhile, all these people are getting shot and they're laying dead in the street. They're laying dead. They died on the spot. There's people in their cars dead. Police are trying to get to the wounded, to get them out of there, get them in an ambulance, get them out of there. And they're trying to see is anybody alive, and the ones that weren't alive, they were left where they were. There's nothing they could do for them. They were dead. But in the meanwhile, Trevor's mother and father had arrived, and they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. The gunman shot into their car and shot his father dead. And the mother got out of the car somehow and ducked down by the car, like at the back of the car or the front, I'm not sure, but she ducked down, and then she kind of prayed, because she said, I'm a dead woman, I'm next. And there's nowhere for her to go, nowhere for her to run. You know, she's an elderly lady, couldn't run too fast, but she just said, okay, I'm next. But for some reason, Michael Ryan's gun jammed, or he had to change guns, or he had to reload. And he got distracted. There was some other car coming down the road, and he got distracted. And by that move, she was saved, because he didn't come back for her. And that was her time to escape. And she knew that her husband was dead. There's nothing she could do for him. And she ran, or she got out of there quick and went in the bushes, or knocked on somebody's house and got in there. She got to safety. Maybe she went to her son's house, managed to get there. But anyway, she survived. But the other person coming down the road, there was two of them. One was shot dead, and the other one was seriously wounded. But it goes on. It just keeps going on. He's shooting. He's just shooting in the air. He's just shooting anything that moves. Some police were shot trying to help. They were shot. So there was nothing they could do. It was like a standoff. There was no help yet. No help from the, like the military, or whatever they call it back in them days. You know, the armed police. I call it the armed police. It just... and this is another day that just went wrong. These police that are armed police were on out in the field to do a practice for something like this would ever happen. And they were miles and miles away. How many miles away? I think they were at least 40 miles away from the scene. And they were notified, but they were on the way. And this is what they've been practicing for. This was exactly what their job was. And so they were on the way. And in the meanwhile, the police are trying to get on the radio. Where is he? Has anybody seen him? Do they know where he is? Is he on the north side? Is he on the east side? Where exactly is this man? And who is this man? Is he alone? Is just one person? You know, they're trying to get all this information. Well, Trevor comes. Trevor the Bobby. is investigated, and he's looking to see if he could see if he knows this man, so they could at least know who he is. Well, anyway, he recognizes him. He said, "That's Michael Ryan." And the reason why he knew his name right away and recognized him right away, because he had just been to his home a little bit ago to check out his licenses for his guns, his gun licenses, to make sure they were up to date. Because maybe somebody called the police on him and said he was shooting and stuff, might have complained, and he came back to check, he made sure he's got his licenses. But anyway, he checked his licenses and they were all good. So this is how he remembers who he was and his name right off the bat. So he gets a hold of people, and then he tells them who the man is, what he looks like, and where he is exactly. So they get that far. And then as this is going on, he gets a call, or finds out that his parents are in the hospital. At this point, the mother and the father are at the hospital. His mother and father are at the hospital. And he gets a call saying, "Okay, Trevor, your dad is okay and your mom's okay. But they're okay." But when he gets to when he finds out later, they had got the wrong guy. It wasn't his dad that survived. His dad was one of the dead. So he's hearing all this, and then it just goes on and on and on. And people are just screaming and crying because, their family are in the road and they're dead, or their house is on fire, and they haven't got the gunman yet. They don't know where he is. So they're all told to stay in, lock your doors, don't move, get off the street. And then they manage to stop the cars going up and down the road. Oh my God. I think what could have gone wrong that day went wrong that day. And same as Michael Ryan's lived in that village, in that very small town. He knew what police would be on duty that day. He knew when their day off was. This man ain't no fool. He chose a day. He chose a day where there wouldn't be nobody coming to help anybody for a while. But we still don't know at this time what made this man go on a rampage and start murdering people that he knew very well, that he's known for since he was a kid. He's even killed his mother, killed her dead, and left her body in the house to burn. Everybody's saying he wouldn't hurt a fly. Michael Ryan would never hurt a fly. It couldn't be him. It can't be him. He was always a good kid. He was quiet, and he was good as gold. This is what people said about him. He was good as gold. But something snapped, didn't it? Something horrible snapped in this boy as he was growing up. And I don't know quite what it was. But he snapped. Or was it a planned thing? Did he plan to do this massacre? Why did he want to kill his mother? A loving mother that he lives with, that treated him good growing up, as far as we know. As far as we know, she treated him good. But in them days, things were kept quiet. But as far as we know, people only had good things to say about them. The whole family. The mother and the son. Michael Ryan was 27 years old. People knew he liked guns. He's very fascinated with guns. He loved guns. And he got told a few times, to stop shooting in the garden. And he was very fascinated with guns. Well, anyway, guys, that's part 1 of Michael Ryan. Stay tuned for part 2. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you, guys.